Are your brakes squeaking, or is your front wheel feeling a little off? Today I'm tackling an essential maintenance task every rider should know. I'm removing the front wheel on my Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650 to re-grease the axle, clean and service the caliper and finish off with brand new brake pads. This is the last part of our 3-part series to keep your ride smooth and safe. Let's get started. And today I must point out that this video is for entertainment value only. For essential servicing on your motorbike, you should always seek professional advice. Put the bike on the center stand, and today I'm going to be using my modified car jack. Here's our normal car jack. I've modified one. I've welded a base plate to the bottom and the top, and then I've put a piece of wood on top, so I can use that for raising and lowering very heavy motorbikes, and it works a treat. There we go. We're just going to put that under the sump where the oil plug is. There's a flat surface there to do it, and that is where the recommended Royal Enfield jacking point is for raising the front wheel. There we go. That's my front wheel off the ground already. I can spin it. There we go. Doesn't take much. And now we can have a really good time. So to take the front wheel off, you need this special adapter, which luckily is included in the Royal Enfield toolkit. Actually, all the tools you need for this job are conveniently included in the toolkit, making it easy to handle a front tyre repair or replacement while on the road. First, loosen the 6mm Allen key pinch bolt. Once that's done, take the 24mm spanner with extension tube attached. Turn the axle anti-clockwise to loosen it. Once it's free, pull the axle completely out to remove the wheel. And here on the wheel we've got the spacers. They will pull out, and you can see that will need cleaning, but no oil please, no oil. Keep your rubbers clean. I'm just checking the wheel bearing. Put my finger in, twist it. Any movement? No, everything's good. Everything's rotating nicely. So no play in my wheel bearing. I can reinsert my spacer, and then it'll be the same on the other side. Another advantage of removing the front wheel is gaining better access to the front brake caliper. This makes it easier to clean, and then split the caliper and lubricate the slide rails for smoother operation. We actually covered this in last week's video, so I'll add a link above and in the video description for you to check out. So everything's looking a lot cleaner. Everything's been lubricated. I'm going to replace the wheel before I replace the brake pads. Obviously we want the disc on the other side, so make sure you get the disc on the right side. I've just made the bike high enough just for the wheel to go under the front mudguard. And now I need to lower the bike very slowly to make it the right height of the axle. Just slightly lowering with my axle stand. There. And now I'm just cleaning my front axle. Is there any wear on it? Yeah, I do have a little bit of wear right there, look. Something's been rubbing and cutting, but it's not pitted, it's not dented badly. So I'm just going to put a light layer of grease on the axle as well, just to help with lubrication. Not much, just a little bit. My rear axle has been done when I had the belt drive fitted. They did lubricate that axle for me then. So now it's just a case of lining everything up. I do look a little bit high still, so let's just lower that axle a little bit more. Lower the bike a little bit more. Yeah, I think we're good to go. There, everything's lined up. Now I can retighten the axle. Lubricated, cleaned, ready to go. And of course, we're going to use our special adapter that we got from our toolkit. I know some of you are going to ask me the torque settings. At this very present time, I don't know, but I will try and get in contact with Royal Enfield and find out, because you know as much as I do, these torque settings are kind of kept secret for some reason. But I'm just going to go with feel, like I always do. I felt how hard it was to undo. I'm going to do the same tightness, doing it back up. And then we have our safety bolt, which I've greased as well, to hold everything tight, stop it from undoing. Just give it a spin. Yeah, running nice and straight, nice and true. No noise because there's no brake pads fitted at the moment, but we will fit them. Interesting to know if my valve cap is going to be heavier or not for my tyre pressure monitoring system. Let's just see where that lands, if it lands at the bottom or not. I would say not. No, if that was too heavy it wouldn't land there, it would have landed at the bottom. So I haven't felt any balance issues with that cap at all. So it's time to replace the ABS sensor. It is a twist and turn, so you put it in and then turn it by 90 degrees like that. But this spacer was like that, so I take it that's quite essential that it spaces it away. To get the correct distance. So now it's time to replace the brake pads. So I've brought everything outside for better sunlight. It's the end of the day now, so here are my new brake pads. Here are my old ones. First thing we're going to do is check them for fitting. Are they going to be the same shape? I can turn them opposite back to back, and as you can see, perfect shape, perfect fit, so that's not a problem. I am changing these prematurely, to be honest. Compared to the new ones, there's not much difference in them, really, just a millimetre or so. But I don't know if you can notice, on this end, they're a lot thinner. On this edge, they're very thin. On this edge, they're thicker. That means my pistons haven't been closing evenly. And that is probably because I haven't lubricated my caliper rails as much as I should have. These are the heat shields taken off, ready to replace onto our new brake pads. And it's just a case of clipping them back on to the new ones. There we go. So that's all clipped on. Make sure the hole is evened in the center, and that's ready to fit onto the bike. You can see where the pistons actually went onto the old heat shields, but they have been cleaned. That's as best as I'm going to get them. I'll just clip them onto the new brake pads. And again, just make sure the hole's centralized. They're now ready to fit onto the bike. Our pin is lubricated and my safety pin. So we're going to put the left-hand side on first. Make sure the heat shield faces the pistons. We're going to basically push it in and push forward like this. It's very similar to fitting a printer cartridge. So you just push them in and then push back. They should be sprung loaded like that. And then what keeps the spring in place is by refitting the pin of the brake pads. Make sure the pin is not in the way, ready for your second brake pad to go back in. And because they're new brake pads, they're going to be a tight fit, so we need to make sure this caliper is pulled out now all this way, ready for our second brake pad to go in. It's going to be a tight fit. So we're basically going to slide that in behind the pistons and then up and in. You should feel it sprung loaded. If it's not feeling sprung loaded, it's not in correctly. There we go, I can feel them sprung loaded. I do have to push forward to be able to line that pin up and push it in. There we go, it's done. Now I'm just going to punch the locking pin back in place. Isn't that looking a lot better? We just got to punch this one flat, that's all. If there's resistance, it means the pad isn't lined up properly. You might just have to push it into place. There you go, that sprung load just needs to be reset. Make sure it's punched all the way in. It has to be not just flush, but a little bit further in than flush. Ready to fit our safety pin, which fits between the caliper and the inner brake pad. Safety pin is ready to reinsert. It does fit between the caliper and the pad. On this side it goes in here in the middle. I've already lined that hole up. Very difficult to film in today's light. You can see the pinhole between the caliper and the pads. Last thing to do is replace our safety pin. We did line up the hole, so I know it's facing this way. There it is. And then it's just a case of pushing it home. So the locking pin's in, the safety pin's in. Now it's a case of shaking our caliper so it's kind of central. Now I'm going to pump the brake a few times and keep tapping the caliper. And that is centralised things, hopefully. The pin's lubricated, the rails are lubricated, new pads are fitted. Everything is tickety-boo. I just have to be very careful the first few kilometres to bed them in.
I'm also going to check the brake reservoir window. Everything looks fine, but to be thorough, we'll remove the 2 Phillips screws and take off the cover for a closer inspection. Remember, brake fluid is highly corrosive, almost like paint stripper, so we definitely don't want any of it coming in contact with our paintwork. To protect the bike, I'll place a rag with a hole around the reservoir as a precaution, just in case of any accidental spills. Under the lid you'll find a white plastic cap, and beneath that a rubber expandable seal. It's important to ensure that this seal is flat and not expanded. If it's expanded, it can artificially raise the brake fluid level in the window, giving you an inaccurate reading. Everything looks good, so I'll go ahead and put everything back together. Interestingly, on page 112 of the owner's manual, Royal Enfield recommends replacing the brake fluid every 2 years or 20,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. That's a video for another day, as I'm quickly approaching my 20,000 kilometer milestone. Another thing we can do is clean our brake discs. I'll use some brake cleaner, a mild Scotch-Brite pad and a microfiber cloth to remove any old brake pad debris and ensure the discs are spotless. That's it for today. I hope you found this tutorial useful. To make things easier, I'll compile my brake list related videos front and rear into one playlist for you to watch. Remember, in the last video I shared aftermarket brake pad part numbers for more affordable alternatives. Until next time, ride safe.